Hey, Talk of the Town is up and running in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, USA. I'm Scott Montesano, and this is where the Chippewa Valley comes to talk. If you are watching this live on Tuesday on YouTube, hello out there. Great to be with you in the flesh on this Tuesday afternoon, and maybe you're listening to the podcast later on Tuesday. If you are, a basketball doubleheader tonight at North on 93.5 FM. We'll have North girls at 5:30. The North boys will follow a North basketball doubleheader on 93.5 this evening, plus Altoona girls basketball on Thursday. A full slate of games in February, and you can get it all on the website at eachometownradio.com, plus a full assortment of our other podcasts that we have with Eau Claire Hometown Radio and Eau Claire Hometown Media. We're going to get to the decision the city council is likely to make on Tuesday concerning some additional parking and a development in downtown Eau Claire. Begin with this, though, was up in Barron over the weekend for a couple days. Didn't spend any nights in Barron, but my son had a youth hockey tournament. Barron's one of those tough places to go for something like a youth sports tournament that's multi-days, because it's a good 50 minutes from where we are on the south side of town, near near Gulf Road and what have you, near Pine Meadows. So it's 50 minutes there and back. It's a 2-hour round trip, but it's also close enough you don't want to spend the night. And plus, there's not a lot to stay there in Barron. If you're going to really spend the night, you're going to spend it another 15 minutes north in Rice Lake. And then there's no way to kill any time. So we had like 6 hours between games. What we did, we went to, I know some of you might know this, went to Gilligan's in Chautauqua, had a lovely meal, and killed 2 hours there. Had a great server who knew exactly what we were doing. Myself, the wife, the kids, we played the trivia up on the screens, took our sweet time, and then we went to the Walmart in Rice Lake, because you can kill 40 minutes walking around the Rice Lake Walmart. And it brings me to this. Mentioned it a little bit last week, and I think we're going to talk more about this in the coming months, if you will. Civic pride in Eau Claire. You know, where is it? Where is the civic pride? And that's more of a deeper discussion as we move along. But as we're driving into Rice Lake, I see a big sign that, and I think I'd seen this before, but judging by what we had talked about last week, it really came to my head. This sign proclaiming Rice Lake as the home of Olympic gold medalist Kenny Bednarnik. Kenny Bednarnik. I think I got that right. Bednarnik? I want to say it correctly. I called a couple of his games growing up, but Kenny Bednarnik, he is a star track athlete. Been to a couple of Olympics. I think he's won a gold medal, maybe a silver medal, but he's won a medal. And they had a big sign when you drive in saying, "This is the hometown of Kenny Bednarnik." And I love that. And I wish we had more of that in Eau Claire. We've mentioned Ben Loomis is going to the Olympics for, I think it's the third time in Nordic skiing. He'll participate in the Olympics in a couple of weeks in Italy. But not only that, you have things that are non-sports related that you can really hold on to with some pride in this area. The first Quick Trip was in Eau Claire. Why not some sign that says, "Hey, home of the first ever Quick Trip"? You don't get a lot of that in Eau Claire. And the first thing somebody would say is, well, who's going to pay for it? Figure it out. Let's have some of that pride in the area. Let's have some of that pride. It's not being boastful. It's about having that civic pride. If you really are prideful about where you live, let's have a little bit more of that. You used to have those signs up, especially in smaller towns, the home of the 1968 American Legion champions, home of the 1982 baton twirler champions. You used to have some of those signs that would be at the bottom of of welcome to towns, and you still see those faded signs. You can have those in Eau Claire, but I'm talking about a bigger sign. Use a billboard. Use the side of a. We've had all these murals that have gone up in Eau Claire. How about a mural that actually elicits real civic pride? In that, hey, there's been some very artistic things that have been done with underpasses of bridges and stuff of that nature. But how about something that really elicits civic pride, that says, hey, this person was from here. This person accomplished this. Think about it. Cascade Tissues are in Eau Claire. Where I'm from, big companies like that, we take great pride in. Nestle has stuff that's made in Eau Claire. So I saw that Kenny Bednarik sign in Rice Lake, loved it, and got me thinking to something we had talked about last week, and we'll talk about more, I think, in the next coming weeks and months. And it goes back to a conversation, by the way, back in the summer. I forget exactly who it was. It might have been Chad Rokamp, who is one of these civic rabble-rousers. And I use the term rabble-rouser in a positive as I say this, in that he's always there bringing things to light. And I think it was him, may have been somebody else, who had mentioned you don't have a lot of neighborhood identity in Eau Claire right now. And there is a lot of truth to that. But that's another discussion for another day. Let's get a sign up, though. And I know there's been some interviews with Ben and some of the media and stuff like that. I'm talking about something permanent going up, and not just for him, but for other things in our area. The Eau Claire City Council on Tuesday is going to vote and likely endorse a redevelopment plan for the Graham Avenue parking ramp. The developer is planning to redevelop the ramp, which is obsolete, built in 1982, redevelop it into multifamily housing right there on the river. However, there will be a 5-year gap. And during that time, the current structure is going to be raised and site work done to turn it into surface level parking. There's certain things with the floodplain and whatnot anyway. And they don't want to lose the parking right away anyway. So if approved, they will raise the parking ramp, and then they will put just a surface level parking in there for the next few years before eventually the multi-family housing perhaps might turn into mixed use housing with some businesses on the base floor. That will eventually go up. A lot of support for it. Downtown businesses spoke in support of it and all that on Monday night. It is odd, the gap, but you do have an experienced local developer in Stuart Schaefer. He is the one behind it, and because of his experience, local downtown businesses are in support of this. There really isn't any opposition to what he is trying to do. Stuart did make one comment that piqued my ears, and I know it's caught some other people too. Other people have said the same thing when they heard this comment. Stuart Schaefer said a lot of glowing things about downtown. He's happy to invest and all that, but he said parking is an issue now downtown, but doesn't see it as an issue in a few years. And I don't know whether he misspoke or whatever, but we have to take him for his word. My question is, why this comment? Does he optimistically think the perception will change? Because parking right now, I don't think is an option. Parking isn't an issue downtown. It's more of a perception thing. You drive around, you will find parking. You will get parking. But reality is, perception sometimes is reality. And for many people, the perception is it's hard to park. Not really true, but that's the perception. Does he think then the next few years that perception is going to change? That over time people will go, it's not as big of a deal. The transit center's ramp's going to be open by then. People will not be as concerned about parking as maybe they are now, with more time, more education, all that. Is that what he means? Or does he have some Shangri-La belief that everyone will be using mass transit and they'll be biking and walking downtown, which we've talked about before with the simple geography of downtown Eau Claire is not realistic for this community. But does he have some Shangri-La belief that people are going to all of a sudden just start biking and walking to downtown from all parts of the Chippewa Valley? Or, and this also has to be brought up, does he foresee there being a downturn in foot traffic downtown? There'll be fewer people going downtown for various things, so there won't be as much of a need for parking. It was an odd thing that he brought up. My gut feeling is it's likely number one is what he meant. That over time, people are not going to see parking as big of an issue. They're just not going to see it as big of an issue as they do now. It's not going to be the roadblock that it is for people right now. That's what I'm thinking. But there's a part of me that thinks I don't think at all he thinks that people are going to start biking and walking everywhere. But I do think that there's a potential that he foresees there being a downturn in traffic. And that would be very concerning when you consider, as we'll talk about in a moment, downtown businesses are struggling. So we'll keep an eye on that, what he means by it. But the idea itself is solid. And we don't know what this housing development will ultimately look like, but more options for housing are good. More options, good. And more downtown options aren't bad. Having more of that living downtown adds more of that vibrancy to downtown. For one of the biggest things that helped to spark the growth of downtown Eau Claire was all those apartments that went up around Phoenix Park. Speaking of downtown, Erin Kloss with Decky and also Tangled Up in Hue. She put out a plea late last week, a plea / vent, noting local businesses in downtown Eau Claire are struggling since the pandemic. Now, in many ways, we've sort of seen a glistening outer skin of the apple, but inside it's gone. There's elements of it that are a little rotten, a little bruised. You know that sometimes you can't tell that the apple is bruised. I think that's the better analogy I want to use. You have to feel it, and when you feel it, you go, "Oh, it's bruised." And that's kind of what downtown is. We see it glistening, but there's some damage that is there. And that's what Erin Kloss points out, that local businesses are struggling since the pandemic. Takes, as she says, and I like this terminology, a conscious effort to go out and look for things, as opposed to shopping at home where you type it into Google, it pops up with a few options, you click, and boom, you can probably get it in 24 hours. If you don't need it if you don't need it that day, you could get it tomorrow. We've seen, and we'll talk about Chippewa Falls in a moment, we've seen that downturn in Chippewa Falls with a number of businesses shutting down. Downtown Eau Claire, there's a brave face, but you hear it struggling. Again, it's easy to go online, find exactly what you need. There, downtown's full of there are some eclectic shops that are very niche-y. That is one thing we'll talk about in a moment, that maybe they got to expand a little bit, but downtown's very niche-y with some of the stuff that they've got there. You might not be in the need for something. And then if you do, you are searching for that widget, you go online and the exact widget you need is there. What you don't get as much anymore is people that window shop, people that move around and see, oh, if I like something, I'll buy it. Or even worse, for brick and mortar places, people go get some ideas as to something they may want to buy, and then they go online and get it. So there is no easy fix And I don't know exactly which businesses are struggling more than others downtown. The food and beverage businesses downtown, I don't want to say it's an easier fix, but it's a lot cleaner of a pathway to success. Everybody's got to eat and drink. You have to eat and drink or you're not going to live. So you need options. Consider the ones downtown. Consider all the local businesses. Go someplace, give them a shot at your business. If you don't like what they do or what they sell, so be it. I'm trying to think. Downtown, I've not been to the Acoustic as much as I should. I probably should go to the Acoustic a little more since Britt from our Feed My People Food Bank podcast, her husband's the one who runs it. I always go to ECDC instead. Should probably go there. Should probably go to the Phoenix Coffee a little bit more. Obviously, we've got the Phoenix Tap Room I've been to. Reboot Social I like. Pizza Plus. I'm not, there's the, what is it? I forget the name of the Thai place that's downtown. I'm not a big Thai eater, so that's not that. A place I haven't tried, probably should go, is the Guac and Roll, which is the Mexican eatery at the corner there. My problem is, and this is where names can sometimes get you, I'm not a big guacamole fan. Now, I know they sell a lot more than guacamole. They sell, tacos and burritos and all the stuff that I tend to like, all right? But the name isn't appetizing to me. I got to get past that. I got to give them, they're in a beautiful location right there at the corner. But if you're a food and the food and beverage places, you got to give them a shot. The District is really good. The other places, it's not as clear of a path because I don't really buy a lot of clothes. It's one of those sneaky things. The older you get, you don't really buy a lot of clothes. And what you tend to get tends to be things that support like a team or something like that. You're not really building up a wardrobe. Some of those knicky-knacky places are kind of cool, but I don't really know if I want to get stuff. It's not as clear of a path there. The first step for the public is this. Get out of the house and explore them, though. Easier, in the better weather than it is now, but get out and explore these places. Go into these local stores more, and that includes me. Then it's on the store to sell you and I. If you go in or I go in and you walk around and there's nothing there that you want to buy, you are under no obligation to then buy something. You are under no obligation to then buy something. They've got to sell you on buying something. And they know that when you're a business owner, you know that the onus is on you to sell the person the product. But you have to go and give them that shot. And I do strongly encourage you to spend money locally. At the same time, again, you're in no obligation to buy at a specific store. I'm just telling you, go give these places a shot, and there's a good chance you will find something that you want. It's not charity, and I'm certain the local owners would agree. Another thing the downtown businesses might have to adapt to. What does the market want? You may absolutely have this dream of owning a doohickey store, but maybe there isn't a market here for doohickeys. And I will seal it up with this. This is another reason, by the way. I'll say the quiet part out loud. This is another reason why it's asinine that the city of Eau Claire is going to start to charge for parking downtown in a few months. Asinine. Absolutely asinine that you're going to make that decision. And I hope, there's a part of me that hopes that the traffic downtown plummets to nothing to prove a point. But I also know that, one, it's going to take several months of that for anybody in the city council to even consider the fact they may have made the wrong move. And by then, you will see closed down businesses downtown. Right now, downtown is vibing. Even if the businesses themselves are struggling in the bottom line, there is a vibe downtown. You don't have a lot of empty storefronts. I don't even think you have any. But it can turn very quickly. Just look at Chippewa Falls right now, where there is a call out from Chippewa Falls Main Street and the Chippewa Chamber, and they're trying to put together some civic pride. You talk about civic pride. Civic pride things come out and shop locally, because a lot of stores in downtown Chippewa Falls, it's already too late for them. There's been closings and movings. Main Street Chippewa Falls is, I don't want to say depressing the drive up and down now. It's not there, but it's heading that direction. And they're trying to reverse course, and rightfully so. It's been a few years since, remember that big bridal place? What was the name of that place? Oh, they had the deli that was attached to them, too. That was kind of the first domino to fall. Oh, what was it? 4 and 5. Was that the name of it? 4 and 5. And then you don't really have a lot of business there in downtown Chippewa Falls. They want to reverse that course. Quickly also with the Chippewa area, Chippewa ICE Arena, continuing their fundraising efforts. The Chippewa ICE Arena had to redo all of their ice making equipment a few months ago. And they're well on their way to raising funds, but they still need more funds. This is a 100% nonprofit entity. No city dollars, no county dollars, no government dollars go into the Chippewa ICE Arena. The belief is, and there's a lot of facts to this, it's the only such facility in the entire Midwest. All of these hockey arenas, ice arenas, are either owned by a city or they're owned by, say, a school or a university. Here, it's entirely a nonprofit entity. It's not a private operator or anything like that. It's a nonprofit entity run by the Chippewa Youth Hockey Association. And they've got dirt cheap ice prices. It's very cheap for kids to participate in figure skating and to participate in youth hockey in Chippewa Falls. Especially low compared to a place like Hobbs in Eau Claire, because you're not dealing with the red tape of city government. So up there in the Chippewa area, they continue to try to raise funds to, again, cover the costs of having redone all of their ice-making equipment that had hit the end of its lifespan really last year. And they tried to they were in the process of raising money to replace it, and it all died on them before they could raise the money, so they had to speed up the whole process. So it's not like they were making an ego buy to upgrade their equipment. No, the equipment literally died on them. It had gone through its usefulness, its lifespan. They were starting the process of raising funds. All right, it was already, think about when you're driving and you get that notice that says, oh, you're 50 miles to empty. Well, that's just an estimate. They drove to 50 miles empty. They were looking around for the gas station, and then they ran out of gas before they even got to the gas station. They're like, oh, shoot, like I didn't have 50 miles left. One other thing here today. The Unitarian Universal, this will be the starting off point. The Unitarian Universalist, am I saying that right? Universalist Church on Farwell Street downtown. They're holding an interfaith prayer service Wednesday night to gather the community to say prayers for those impacted by immigration enforcement in Minneapolis. And boy, it has been a few months over for our neighbors in Minneapolis, and obviously a lot of ties to this area with more people moving over and a lot of people here with ties over there between the horrific school shooting late in the summer. I remember that? To what's been going on there in the last few months. Oh my good, last few weeks. It's been an emotional meat grinder over in Minneapolis. And I know there was a story last week where truckers union gathering coats. I think they were gathering coats for the protesters. This is what I want to say, because I've started to hear more and more people say it locally, because you don't hear a lot locally about what is happening in Minneapolis, which, again, is only 90 minutes away. Remember, public silence is not an endorsement of what is happening, nor is it necessarily nor is it a sign that you are opposed or for anything. Silence is not an endorsement either way. It is not. Remember some of those people that are posting those memes? They've taken some They've taken some quotes from MLK out of context and all of that. Remember, folks, there are people on all sides that want to simply rile you up. They want you to be saying something publicly. All right? It's okay to have that silence. Not post something on social media, not shout from the rooftops. Something absolutely not is silence and endorsement either way. People's thoughts can be complex with nuance, and it's 100% acceptable to, one, keep your thoughts to a small network around you, and two, not involve your business. I know a lot was made about truckers union last week. People saying, why are other businesses doing anything locally? Doesn't mean that they're for or against what is happening. And that is a hard reality for those who think something is cut and dry, black and white. You're either with me or against me. It's not that type of thinking. Thoughts can be very, very complex. And it's not as cavalier as what Michael Jordan said many years ago when people said, why doesn't he come out in support of the Democrat Party? And he said, Republicans buy shoes too. And there's kind of a truth to that. A lot of thoughts are complex. They're nuanced, if you will. We'll take this weekend, and I will share with you my thoughts, because we're very open on this show, obviously. Hundreds, if not thousands, watch this program or listen to it because they want my thoughts. That's how we have sold it. I want to give you my thoughts so you yourself make your own determinations. And from a couple weeks ago, what my thought was, kind of supportive of ICE and thought Renee good and her partner, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. It was a totally tragic thing. I didn't think she wasn't trying to run over that guy, but she got kind of caught in the soup, was trying to get away, and it turned out he was right in there and all that. This is a totally different scenario, that happened over the weekend. Part of the reason, folks, I really want you to keep everything an open mind, because every scenario is different. Don't put yourself in a corner. Don't put yourself in a point where you feel like you have no option to go in another direction. So there are those who are supportive of the policies for the most part, like I am with ICE. I think Democrats have fueled the vitriol to a great extent for their own political gains. I think that has happened. Yet, the shooting on Saturday was public murder. Done so by, I think, an incompetent ICE agent. The more and more you watch, the frame by frame, the more and more you watch analysts on both sides of the political aisle break it down, the ICE agent or agents were frankly incompetent. Now, you can argue and you can try to rationalize, well, Scott, think of what you said 2 sentences ago about, the Democrats have fueled all the vitriol and the yelling, and so they're on edge and they're constantly worried. I get it, but they're supposed to be better. They're supposed to be better. This is not a car coming at them. All right, this was a guy with a phone. All right. Well, he had a gun on him. Well, remember, folks, a lot of the people that are yelling that are the same people that argue for the concealed carry. And what would you have said, by the way, if stuff had happened and somebody was shooting at the ICE agents or somebody was shooting at a family and he pulled out the gun and took them out? So we're not having that argument. But my type of thinking, for the most part, supportive of ICE. I think the Democrats have fueled what's happening. Not that I'm trying to make the Republicans innocent in all this either. But each situation I take differently. I think, again, what happened on Saturday was flat-out murder. I think it was. I think it's a different thing than what happened 2 weeks ago. That type of thinking doesn't vibe on a social media post. That type of thinking does not vibe on writing something on your business page. It doesn't. So you understand what I mean? Silence does not mean you endorse or against something. You know what? You're like, we have our thoughts. If you come up and you ask me, we'll tell you. I'm just not going to put them on social media because it doesn't vibe. It's not clean. It's not, it's not simple. Because also, if you post something, too, and I've realized this, if you post something on social media, then what I say about backing yourself into a corner, then God forbid something happens 2 weeks from now that you go, all right, I viewed it this way 2 weeks ago, but I've changed and I go this way. Yeah, you can write a change in social media and you can say, oh, I've changed. But why? So again, I have no problem with businesses, especially locally, being very quiet with this. I think some people are trying to create more problems. Like, local businesses should come out. More should be doing more to say they stand with or put stuff up in their windows. And local hotels should say if we find out ICE agents are staying in our hotel, we're not going to allow them to. No, it doesn't help out. Now, if you really strongly believe something, you can bring your business into a side or not. But what do I always say? 90% of us wake up each day and address a situation that's in front of us. All right? Society, politics, what happens in society, what happens in politics should not be viewed like your fanhood of a sports team. My beloved New York Jets are a goddamn dumpster fire. Fired their whole coaching staff except the head coach now. 3 weeks after they should have done it, now you have no coaches left. They're an absolute dumpster fire. I will still support the beloved Jets, and I will try to rationalize what they're doing is the right thing. But that's a sports team. That's a toy in life. All right, back with you on Thursday. May do a Hungry Italian on Thursday. It's been a while since we've done one. I think we might do one on Thursday if we do not have any news that really breaks between now and then, but we will wait and see. On behalf of everyone who made this podcast possible, I'm Scott Montesano, saying there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. Make sure to take advantage of it, and until next time, so long, everybody.